Hi beautiful, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am going to do a foundation review on the new Colourpop No Filter Foundation Stick, and this is what it looks like. I recently purchased this from the Colourpop website, and this foundation retails for $10, but because there's a Black Friday sale going on and a Cyber Monday sale, this foundation I believe is currently at $7 US. This foundation has got 30 shades, which ranges from fair to deep dark, which I reckon is pretty good. And I have previously tried the Colourpop No Filter Foundation plus their complexion products such as the concealer and powder, and it did work great on my oily skin, but I've noticed that the Colourpop No Filter Liquid Foundation didn't last as long, and I found that it actually broke apart. So I will definitely see how this foundation stick holds up. And on the website, just grab my computer. So on the website, it says that it conceals, corrects, and perfects for a flawless complexion in seconds, which I totally agree. As for other foundation sticks, it has a medium to buildable coverage that instantly blurs pores, covers blemishes, and blends effortlessly for a natural skin-like finish. It's never cakey or drying, and the foundation stick glides on for the easiest application. So since it's a foundation stick, you could definitely use this as a concealer, a highlight, and a contour as well. But personally for me, I don't really like to do a lot of cream highlight contouring stuff. I'd rather stick to powder because I do have oily skin. It doesn't really say a lot on the website, but it comes with 9.5 grams of product. It is the foundation stick. You have the sticker at the back right here that tells you the shade, and the color also matches the shade of the foundation. This is how much product you get, which I think for $10 is pretty reasonable. Unless you're the type of person that uses this every day, then I think this will last you probably a month or less than a month or so. It's kind of difficult to find my perfect match, so personally I kind of just eyeballed it because the last foundation that I purchased, it's a little bit too dark. I think it's because we just passed winter and now it's just starting to get warmer, so I don't have a lot of natural tan at the moment. So I'm going to swatch this. As you can see, it looks a little bit lighter than the stick once you blend it into the skin. But I feel like that would be a good match for my skin at the moment. So I've already filled in my brows and did my eyes off camera. So I am going to prime with the Colourpop All-Star Primer. I'm probably gonna do half of this on the other side and then half with my favorite primer, which is the CoverGirl. This is just the pore minimizing primer, which I actually do like, or maybe I could combine both. So I think what I'm going to do is just pop this Colourpop primer around the areas where I usually do get oily, and to further blur my pores, I'm just gonna go in with the CoverGirl primer because I like a blurred pores and also matte base. So I do have a lot of blemishes, especially on the chin area at the moment. So what I'm going to do is to swipe that much on this side, and it's very smooth, very creamy. I feel like the shade will match my skin. So what I'm going to do is to use a buffing brush because I feel like stick foundations normally works great with a brush, but on the other half of our face I'm going to try and use a sponge, see which one I prefer. So right off the bat it gave me medium coverage, though you could still see a little bit of my dark spots. It did cling onto the dry patches that I have on my skin, mainly the scars that I have here and then a little bit here, but it's very easy to blend. It's very smooth. It doesn't really tug on the skin, and personally brush is a great way to blend stick foundations. Like it doesn't matter if this particular one or other stick foundation because it gives you a great flawless finish, but we're going to see how it will work on the beauty blender side or beauty sponge side. So here is the side with the beauty blender or sponge. As you can see, it's very light coverage. It didn't really cover a lot of my spots right here. And also, it has more of a natural finish on the beauty sponge as opposed to this one, because this one is full coverage, but it has more of like a satiny finish, whereas this one is very natural. It's kind of skin-like, though I didn't actually like how it blended with a sponge because I have to kind of drag the product around, whereas if you use like a normal liquid foundation, you kind of just dab the foundation in, whereas for a stick foundation you could technically use a sponge, but it won't like give you the fullest coverage. So I personally like this side over this side. So what I'm going to do is to actually even that out and use a brush. So here is my entire face with the foundation on. I did go over a few spots with a brush, and as you can see, it immediately gave me a medium coverage. You could still see redness, but it's a lot better. And as the foundation is drying, it is actually looking a lot more natural-ish, but then it still has that satin finish. So I think I am somewhat happy with the coverage that it gave initially, because I do think that if I keep piling on stick foundation product, it will end up just real cakey and not very pleasant to look at, because at the moment my skin, even though it's very oily, I still have some like dry patches from acne scarring and all that jazz, and the forehead area is a little bit shiny as well, and I have like lines there, so it kind of enhanced it as well. But overall, for a stick foundation, it's actually a pretty good foundation so far. So I will just quickly finish off the rest of my face, and I will come back to give you the time check and my initial thoughts. So here is my full face of makeup on, and for setting my face, I use the Coty Airspun loose face powder just underneath my eyes and also like on the nose area and the forehead area. And for the rest of my face, I use the Colourpop setting powder, and this one is in translucent, and I actually quite like how my skin looks. It doesn't feel cakey, it doesn't feel very thick, and it actually surprisingly looks a little bit more natural than the usual like foundation that I wear. It doesn't feel greasy, because normally foundation sticks tend to feel a little bit like greasy and like somewhat heavy, but this one actually feels very lightweight. So here is the up close. So the time right now is 11:07. I will go about my day. I will do a check-in maybe in the afternoon once I get home. The weather today is not too warm. It's actually quite wet and rainy, so I'll be interested to see how this will hold up. But initial thoughts, I'm quite happy with how my skin looks, and I will catch you guys in a little bit. Hi beautiful, I'm back after a long morning of being in town. The time right now is currently 5:19 p.m., which means that I have been wearing this foundation for about 6.5 hours of wear. Now looking at it in the mirror, I have noticed that the coverage is still there. It did not break apart, or it did not cling on into other dry patches, but I could personally tell you that if you can see around the chin area, it's starting to gather around mostly in the center, and like the coverage around these spots where I mainly have has gone. Around the mouth area is starting to look a little bit funny, like it has some patchiness, but I can tell you that around the pore area, which is on the side right here and in my forehead, the coverage is still there, which is surprising because this foundation actually works a lot better on my oily skin than the Colourpop No Filter liquid foundation. That liquid foundation, I've noticed that within 3 hours of wear, it doesn't matter if I use my normal primer or the All-Star primer, it still breaks apart around this area right here, especially on my forehead. But this one didn't. It doesn't feel very cakey. It doesn't feel very tacky, if you will, because usually foundation sticks can tend to be very thick and very heavy feeling, but this one doesn't, and it just feels like skin. I am surprised that I wasn't as oily. I will blot my face. I blotted this side of my face, and if you compare this side to this side is actually a lot better. It looks like I've just applied the foundation. Forehead wise, it's looking a little bit cakey, but once you powder on top of it, it kind of sets it back. Yeah, I have no complaints about this foundation so far, so I'm gonna wear it probably for another 3 to 4 hours to see its full extent, and I will check back with you guys at the end of the night to see how the foundation held up. Hi beautiful, I'm back for the final check-in, and the time right now is 8:33 p.m. So I have worn this foundation for roughly 9 hours and a bit, and this is what my face is looking like. I look atrocious. Looking at it up close, the nose area is basically gone. The mouth area is very cakey, and then the foundation is starting to gather around this lines right here, and then this part right here is feeling a little bit cakey and looking cakey as well. The foundation is transferring onto my finger, which is not ideal. Forehead is very shiny and cakey. You could pretty much tell that it is about time to take off the foundation. Like basically like around this area it's pretty much gone. So overall, my thoughts, this foundation is not long wearing, but this foundation is definitely a lot better than the liquid foundation that Colourpop has, especially if you have oily skin. I'd say you could get a good 6-hour wear with this foundation, which is relatively normal, especially if you're just running errands or if you have like a short working shift. I wouldn't suggest this for long days. As for the coverage, I actually quite like it. I like the way it blended out, especially using the foundation brush. I would probably rate this foundation a solid 7 out of 10 for oily skin. And if you have acne, oily skin / sensitive skin, this is actually a great foundation because it doesn't break you out, it doesn't clog pores, it does give you a nice medium coverage, especially around the acne marks, which I obviously have here. And the finish is very natural. It doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't feel like you have foundation on. Hope you guys enjoyed this foundation review. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more updates, and please hit the notification bell so you get updated for the next time I upload, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.